on the flip side, if you're pro-America and you're all for America, all those jobs should be given to Americans. At the end of the day,
China is just by nature being having way more of the population. You can have way more skilled workers than we do, and we need skilled workers to make semiconductor shit, to make to work at Lockheed Martin and make our military strong.
I'm going to commend the right wing for having a civil war. So us on the left, we're supposed to snicker and go, "Oh, look at them disagreeing," but you're supposed to disagree.
Yes,
you're supposed to be robust.
No, bully them for having racist in their party. Come on.
Over one campaign promise, and it was to significantly limit immigration, both legal and illegal, because of course, both legal and illegal immigration reduce American wages because labor is like everything else. It adheres.
Bro. If you don't let them hire immigrants, if they don't win the H-1B lottery, they say, okay, well, maybe we're just gonna, offshore. We're gonna open up a new tech branch offshore and like contract workers in India. If you want to see more content like this, I would really appreciate you liking and subscribing. It really helps with the algorithm. And make sure to check out the Discord and other social links in the description. They went over the H-1B visa stuff. I don't care about the other shit they went over. They're talking about like the UK groomer gangs. Haven't read about them. When I say don't care, I mean I don't not care that kids got groomed. It's not an interesting topic to me. So.
Yeah, I think you make some points a lot of people have made. I've seen it on X all day long, actually. Vinny, this whole civil war in the Republican Party over the visa issue, the H-1B visas, where do you sit with that?
Well, Piers, I mean, we've been saying this for the past, I think Patrick Bet-David said it on the PVD podcast, I want to say 6 months ago. He said that the Democrats are going to pin Elon Musk against Donald Trump. They're going to say he's his puppet, he's in charge, he's doing this. The administration hasn't even begun. We still have to wait till the 20th. He's in charge, he's calling the shots. For everybody that knows Donald Trump, including you, Piers, he is a freaking boss among bosses, okay? I understand the donor situation. We haven't seen anything else. I think everybody needs to relax. I mean, at the end of the day, Piers, think about it. Trump was...
Is he blaming the MAGA civil war and people trying to... on the liberals? Really? Are we trying to do that?
Trump has said positive things about H-1B. I mean, it started in the 90s with Bush Sr. If we think about it, this is just another government program that people are taking advantage of. All these people that are coming out, well, how much is it?
Okay. Wait. So he's not even with Trump on this one. Dog, kill me. It also like, I hate when people, There's more to the case you have to make than like this is a government program that people are like taking advantage of. Literally any program is going to have some level of inefficiency, some level of waste. But like if we like, they can still be a net benefit despite some level of waste. Like building roads has some level of waste. Like someone's embezzling money somewhere, but like there's still a net benefit to that. Like.
Is it a year, Piers? I think 85 to 100,000 H-1Bs. Elon's, an H-1B person himself. I mean, but on the flip side, if you're pro-America and you're all for America, all those jobs should be given to Americans. At the end of the day, you see Vivek, he's kind of flip-flopping. If you're America first, American workers should get the jobs first. If they want it changed, change the program. Just like when...
Dog, kill me. First of all, like, I honestly think they were just talking about China. Honestly, like, you could listen. Even if I granted that like what he's saying is true, entirely true, or whatever. Like, I still think there's a good argument for H-1B visas because of national security, right? Like a big reason, like China has 17% of the population. We only have 4% of the population. China is just by nature being having way more of the population. You can have way more skilled workers than we do, and we need skilled workers to make semiconductor shit, to make to work at Lockheed Martin and make our military strong. Like, there's a very strong argument from national security to have high school immigration. The CEO of NVIDIA is an immigrant, and because of him, he was one of the co-founders too. We have NVIDIA, which is a really they're way ahead of China in terms of chip design, right? They designed all the chips, they designed the GPUs. They're so good that we don't even let NVIDIA sell their highest tier of products to China. Okay, we ban them from doing that because we don't want China to have the technology. The TSMC, on the other hand, that the person who founded TSMC was an immigrant in America and eventually moved to Taiwan and made their company in Taiwan. And because of that, we're fucked on semiconductors, okay? Because all the semiconductors are made in Taiwan. Imagine if we had a better system where they stayed in America and instead they made their fucking cool-ass company here. Like, there's a strong national security case that you make. But also, he just doesn't understand opportunity cost. The fly he's making here is like basically It's like it's a zero sum fallacy. It's even Elon Musk like tweeted about this. Surprisingly, the economic pie is not fixed. People can move here and get a job, and the entirety of the pie, the entire size of the economy can grow, and everyone can benefit. It's not zero sum between the immigrant having the job and the American having the job, right? Like an easy way to view this is, or a somewhat analogous situation to view this is like Milton Friedman gives an example. Like, he went to China, and China was building like a dam, and he went there and he saw people using shovels instead of using like modern bulldozers and excavators, and he's like, well, why are you doing this? And they're like, you don't understand. This is a jobs program. We're using it to increase jobs. And then he responded, oh, you should be giving them spoons instead. Okay. Obviously, using spoons instead of shovels is not good for economic progress, right? The whole it comes from misunderstanding opportunity cost. An immigrant coming here lets a company make the same product for cheaper or like the same price, because sometimes they're paid basically the same as the American worker. Well, the American worker can do something else. And then also, it's not like they like contribute to the company. To goods in economics a lot of times are substitutes or complements, right? I can either buy like an apple instead of an orange, but some goods like peanut butter and jelly are complements. If I need more peanut butter, I also might need more jelly, right? They go together. They're complements. The more I consume of one, the more I consume of the other. Immigrants aren't necessarily substitutes for other people. They can also be complements. A company can be allowed to expand more and therefore hire more native workers because they're allowed to hire immigrants. There's actually evidence of this effect. There's also evidence that companies don't offshore as much if you let them hire immigrants. Instead of, if you don't let them hire immigrants, if they don't win the H-1B lottery, they say, okay, well, maybe we're just going to offshore. We're gonna open up a new tech branch offshore and like contract workers in India to make our product because we can't bring the Indians here. Obviously, bringing the Indians here is probably better for America because then they pay taxes to America. Like
when Trump said when he was debating Hillary, and Hillary was like, "What the taxes and this and that," and Trump takes advantage of it.
Like here's a study: when they hire more H-1B workers, they employ more native-borns than before.
What he say? When you guys change the rules, I'll change the game. Okay, but until then,
but how did you feel?
And again,
how did you feel though, Vinny, when Vivek Ramaswamy he ignited this whole sort of firestorm over this? He said a key part of it comes down to the C word, culture. He said, truth, our American culture has venerated mediocrity over excellence for way too long, at least since the 90s, likely longer. Doesn't start in college, starts young. A culture that celebrates the prom queen over the math Olympiad champ or the jock over the valedictorian will not produce the best engineers. Basically saying we've got to have all these people on these H-1B visas because Americans are too lazy and too mediocre. That's what he said.
I heard it, Piers, and I wasn't a huge fan of it. But it is what it is. These people.
Wait, you weren't a huge fan of that part, really? We're not going to play the.
Everybody expects everybody on the other side to be perfect, Piers. Trump's supposed to be perfect. Elon's supposed to be perfect. Vivek's supposed to be perfect. By the way, and we're supposed to be all these Trump loyalists. I'm not a big fan of it. I'm America first myself, and I'm not a fan of what Vivek said. Kind of throwing a little jab at Americans. There is some truth for it. I mean, Piers, if you go on.
Sorry. Oh, yeah. Anything that's remotely quote unquote anti-American to any extent. Okay, makes sense. Okay.
Now, if you call Chase or Apple and you get customer service, where are those people from? Where are they from? Pakistan, India, the Philippines. They're from all over the world. So until the system gets changed, billionaires are going to freaking take advantage of it because that's how they become billionaires.
Riley, your husband.
I never understand, dude. These are the same people who are like, oh, you like. And I somewhat agree with them when they say this. You can't raise the corporate tax. Because guess what? If you raise the corporate tax, workers are hurt too. Because companies are going to hire less people. And like, that's true. But like now suddenly when it comes to immigrants, the only person that benefits from hiring immigrants is the rich billionaires? Really? No one else benefits? Only the rich billionaires benefit? But the same isn't true of cutting corporate taxes that actually somehow benefits everyone? Like they like pretend that they care about this now. No, they don't, obviously. Hiring immigrants, if they are paid less, which some evidence doesn't even suggest that they're paid that much less, just means they can offer the same service for cheaper. It means cheaper services for everyone else. It means that they can expand their business faster and give new products to new people. Like, what do you mean? Like,
I think he's on a visa. I presume he is. I've had work visas in America for many, many years. It's a hard process. It's not easy. I'm in the America when I come as an exceptional alien, which I've always taken slight offense at the description, just because it makes me sound like some sort of weird extraterrestrial.
You are exceptional, Piers.
Thank you. It's just the word alien I have a problem with, Vinny, but thank you. But that's what they call us if we come in on the H1B visa, certainly. But what do you think of this, Riley? Because it has caused a big split in the Republicans. A lot of the MAGA types like Steve Bannon and others really angry about this. They think that the support by Vivek and Elon and Trump for these visas is going to be at the expense of American jobs. And they say that flies in the face of MAGA, what it's supposed to be about.
Yeah, well, let me tell you, I call my husband an alien all the time, and I remind him every July 4th who the real winners were. Look, I've enjoyed, truthfully, I feel like it's rare to actually enjoy political discourse, but I really have, especially over the downtime, over Christmas and New Year's. I've enjoyed hearing from all perspectives, and here's where I'm at. I'm unapologetically America first. As a capitalist, I believe in the free market. And
Oh, okay. Maybe we'll get a good take from her. But also, it's like, I really enjoyed this discourse when, like, A, your party's tearing itself apart, and B, like, half of the people who don't support H1Bs are just fucking racist, man. they don't like Indians because they're brown. What do you mean? Like,
I believe in meritocracy. And so here's the thing. I think it would be naive to say that corporations are acting out of what's best for America and prioritizing meritocracy. I believe corporations are now.
I do. Okay. I mean, like, we get the. Maybe we should expand on it, but like, I support the free market, but I think it's naive to think that companies are operating out of the best interest of in America's best interest. It's like, okay, well, like invisible hand, right? Like, I never get it. They like most of the like right wing people, maybe they don't do this anymore. Maybe they only stopped doing this a few years ago. But we're like, what the free market does is typically in the best interest of Americans, which I would usually agree that the free market is best at maximizing efficiency, and like typically is. What the free market decides, quote unquote decides, is like what is in the best interest of America. But like now we just forget all the based Adam Smith invisible hand logic here.
Naturally doing what is best for their pockets. And so I think the bigger question is, can meritocracy exist without these sort of ulterior motives? And largely what I have been exposed to, a large part of my own personal experience and the platform that I have, and a big part of my passion, truthfully, is our failed Department of Education. I think that's what we should be asking ourselves. Why don't we look at the fact that we've had a Department of Education
nice pivot
since the 1970s, which has not done anything to educate our children to be able to be competitive in the workplace. Instead, it's been entirely corrupted by woke progressive liberalism, teaching children that men can have babies and that boys need tampons in the bathrooms at school. And so I think they've taught that American exceptionalism is total BS, and that we should be ashamed of ourselves as a country for all of our past transgressions. And so that, to me, as someone who just recently exited these large academic prestigious institutions, that to me is the bigger question that we should get to the bottom of, and hopefully we can at least start to over the next 4 years. And I'm certainly hopeful with a new Secretary of Education, if confirmed, Linda McMahon. That's what we need to be asking ourselves. What in America can we do to better ourselves and put ourselves in a competitive position with these other countries?
Yeah, I mean, Cenk, what was Vivek Ramaswamy wrong? I mean, he may have phrased it differently if he thought about it and the way the reaction poured out, but was he necessarily wrong in what he said?
Yeah, first of all, I got to note, I love this conversation. And I'm going to do something really interesting here, that I'm going to commend the right wing for having a civil war. So us on the left, we're supposed to snicker and go, oh, look at them disagreeing. But you're supposed to disagree.
Yes.
Oh, Cenk, no, make fun of them. No, Cenk, I forgot he's on his cucking himself out to the right arc. Oh, Cenk, no. Cenk, why? No, why? No.
You're not supposed to be robot.
No, bully them for having racist in their party. Come on, make fun of them.
And the fact that they're disagreeing with one another is actually a great sign. That means that they're thinking for themselves. So in terms of what Vivek and Elon said, Vivek is both right and wrong. So if he wants to celebrate nerds, I love it. I was an honor student. I went to good schools. I was a nerd, and I'm proud of it, right? But he didn't have to put down jocks and other Americans, et cetera. I was also a jock, right? I also played middle linebacker for a football team, and there's nothing wrong with jocks. There's nothing wrong with any Americans, right? So in terms of the H-1B visas, look, they've produced some wonderful results here in America, and I love that we're getting the best talent from all across the world and coming here. It makes us stronger, and you see that, and especially if you're a right-winger and you support Elon Musk, you can see, well, he was an H-1B guy, so it made us stronger, right? And by the way, Steve Jobs' dad was a Syrian Muslim immigrant. That immigration made us stronger. Now, having said that, I do empathize with what Vinny's saying. We're getting a lot of people who are progressives, both from the audience, but then you're seeing it from Bernie Sanders and Ro Khanna in Congress as well, going, this H-1B visa does get abused sometimes, where they just use it to hire cheaper engineers from across the world. So maybe there's a fix where we say, hey, you got to go maybe 25% above what the market is to try to hire Americans first.
I mean, you can raise the minimum salary, and raising the minimum salary would stop some of the abuse. I don't think the abuse is like hiring an immigrant for cheaper. The abuse of the H-1B visa is like it's supposed to be a visa for high skilled workers, but there are ways to basically get around that and essentially bring in relatively low skilled workers for on the H-1B visa, which you don't want to do. You're supposed to save it for only high skilled workers. I think that's what people usually mean when they say abuse, or they mean, Cenk might bring this up too, the fact that like workers can't transfer their visas easily, so sometimes they might have to suffer poor working conditions or be forced to go back to their home country if they quit, like, so it can be exploitative there potentially.
And then if you can't find someone, then maybe we can go to an H-1B visa. Maybe there's a fix there where you unite the left and the right's valid criticism of the H-1B visa without getting into anti-immigrant rhetoric and way of thinking.
Yeah, I mean, Bartya, I saw you nodding there. I've got to say, I've never heard Cenk sound quite so calm and reasonable. I think his journey in the last few months has been...
Cenk, why? No. Why are you cucking yourself out? No.
Absolutely riveting to observe. But Bartya, I mean, I agree with Cenk. I do think that the Conservatives in America are having a genuinely open and quite rigorous debate about this issue. What's wrong with that? It's the Democrats who seem incapable of having the same kind of reasonable debate with each other about anything, isn't it? I mean, aren't we at a place where the more reasonable party has become the Republicans here?
I wish I could be as gracious as the four of you. I am absolutely livid about this because Donald Trump was put into office by millions and millions of Americans who were Democrats 2 years ago.
Okay. I don't know if they're... I'm curious to see what she says, but really, Democrats can't have reasonable conversations with each other? I just had a very reasonable conversation with Isaac, okay? But, like, dog. Half not half. Like 25% of the fucking party fighting up on the anti-H1B side. It's just racist. It's just right. There's just a bunch of like racist people who hate immigrants because they're brown. That there are a lot of people on the right who don't like H-1Bs because of that. What are you talking about, brother? It's not a good sign. No, this is not a good sign when your party is divided over such a simple issue like skilled immigration. Are you kidding me? Like
5 years ago, 10 years ago, 30 years ago, over one campaign promise, and it was to significantly limit immigration, both legal and illegal, because, of course, both legal and illegal immigration reduce American wages because labor is like everything else. It adheres...
Okay, well, first of all, high-skilled immigration doesn't reduce most Americans' wages because they still demand, it's high-skilled immigration. They demand labor from all the low-skilled people. They go to the grocery store and buy groceries, which are grown, well, some of them are grown in America, but, which have American cashiers, right? They demand services. They demand haircuts from low-skilled workers, yet don't compete with them on the job market, which means the demand for low-skilled workers goes up and the supply for low-skilled workers does not go up and their wages go up. So you help a lot of low-skilled workers, and at the cost of maybe, if I concede it for the sake of argument, that you're going to reduce tech workers' wages, which there is not much evidence to that effect without a huge increase in migration, because again, they can be complements and not substitutes. But you're reducing like the top 10% of American workers' wages to being like the top 15% of American workers' wages. And that's not, don't we think that's probably a net benefit overall if these companies are able to expand more and able to provide their services for cheaper and able to innovate more? Like really, dog? Kill me. And then there was another thing I was going to say. Oh, and like the evidence does not suggest that immigrants actually reduce wages unless you have a like sudden influx of unless you have a ton of immigration really quickly. When I say a ton, I don't mean 3 million immigrants a year. I mean like 20% of the population in a year or two, or like in less than a year. That's what all Borjas studies are about. But usually like the positive supply shock to the labor supply curve from immigrants is roughly offset by their positive demand shock for all the goods and services they buy too. Like anyone who makes this argument would also have to make the like, why is it bad to have children then? Don't children take jobs from other Americans? Don't children reduce wages too? Like, what do you mean? Like, you're increasing the labor supply by having children, right? Should we limit the amount of children people can have, or do we just not care because those are Americans and those are white people and we don't like the immigrants because they're brown? Is that the reason? The immigrants are brown, right? We don't like them.
to the ironclad law of supply and demand. The more you have of it, the cheaper it is. And we should want, whether we are progressive leftists or whether we're in the MAGA movement, we should want American workers to make decent wages so that our neighbors are living the American dream, not just the elites. So in general, this is a massive betrayal of his #1 campaign promise. But let me just address very briefly the H-1B argument specifically. So H-1Bs are defended on the grounds that, #1, we don't have the talent here.
Look, they're not weak arguments. They're only weak because you place a value judgment on the type of work that we're doing. What do you mean? Well, first of all, you don't care about anything economic. So obviously you're going to think any economic argument is weak because you don't care about economics at all. You don't care if you don't care about the quality of life at all. You just place a value judgment on people doing agrarian work. What do you mean, brother?
So we need to import it. And #2, that we're doing a sort of
based
the grounds that #1, we don't have the talent here, so we need to import it. And #2, that
we don't have again, the national security thing. We don't have enough talent to compete with China. And also, why, all else equal, why wouldn't we want the talent here? What do you mean? We don't have the talent here for what we're trying to do. The Semiconductor Alliance of America, I forget the exact organization's name is. We're putting a ton of money into subsidies for semiconductors. They estimate that despite having programs to train a lot of Americans, they are still going to need to import talent from other countries. It's like 60,000 Americans or whatever that they think they are going to have to import. The Semiconductor Industry Association notes that even with a push for training more native-born workers, only about half the needed talent for the U.S. semiconductor push will be available domestically, meaning 67,000 will need to be brought in. Yes. Also, the labor market is tight right now. That's not to say that you make. I mean, I don't want to say it's overly tight, but and the justification of bringing immigrants in is to make the labor market looser because it's overly tight. But the labor market is tight right now. There are more job openings than unemployed people. So I don't think bringing in immigrants is going to be hugely detrimental to the job market if the job market is already relatively tight. Really?
We're doing a sort of brain drain from the rest of the world. Let's bring in the best and the brightest.
Also, the brain drain thing, first of all, I never get it. I'm America first. By the way, I can't believe America is causing brain drain to all these countries. There's probably some negative effects in brain drain, but it's probably an overall benefit because they send remittances back to their home country, and those remittances, for the most part, go to their family spending on education, which raises the country's productivity in the long run. It's probably a net benefit for the country they're coming from too. Not that these people care; they don't care, to be clear, but they make this argument in bad faith. But yeah.
They're both nonsense, and I urge your viewers to look the stats up. I'm going to repeat a few of them, but don't take my word for it. Look it up. Right now, there are 17 million people living in this country who have a degree in STEM, and only 9 million of them are employed in STEM jobs. There are a whole bunch of them, many millions, who are employed in other jobs, and 3 million who are not employed at all in STEM jobs. So we have the supply
okay.
of labor here, and if we went into the inner city and we went into Appalachia, by
I don't know. They could just be choosing not to work in the STEM.
Would find brilliant Americans there. The problem is that the industry has a massive downward pressure on wages, so it is not attracting the brilliant
are you kidding,
and the brightest of homegrown Native American talent. What we're doing is importing a whole bunch of people. So what about this argument that these are the best and the brightest? Well, Piers, you already mentioned we have a visa for the best and the brightest, and you have it. The H-1B visa is being used to import an indentured slave caste who are tied to an employer. They make on
Also, these people don't care. They don't care. She does not care. Why she pretend like she cares that they? I hate it when they pretend like they care about the indentured slavery or the brain drain. No, you don't care at all. What do you mean? You don't give a fuck if an immigrant is working here as slaves, localists. Here's the thing: you actually do somewhat care because you hold the position consistently that everyone in America is a wage slave. Okay, she almost certainly does not hold that position. She doesn't give a fuck about the single mother working at McDonald's, okay? She doesn't care. She wants to cut every welfare program known to man. What do you mean, dog? You don't care. You don't care.
Average $40,000 a year less than Americans. There are 500,000 H-1B visas.
I don't think it's $40,000 less than a year less than America. I'm pretty sure the median wage for H-1B workers is like $86,000.
Here, and 30% of STEM jobs are done by foreign workers, people who were born somewhere else.
Based.
That is by definition not the best and the brightest. This is not a brain drain of the world. It is a wage drain of Americans who should be middle class, and instead their wages are being sucked upward in a funnel to billions.
Look, guys, I want to say they can't, it's hard to transfer the visa, but they can't transfer the visa. Also, I'm in support of making it easier to transfer the visa between employers. Like
Billionaires like Elon Musk.
Well, A, that was a fantastic rant. And secondly,
Thank you,
it's the
Piers.
kind of thing you might have heard from a Republican a few years ago. I mean, I find what's really interesting about all the...
How many Republicans were, I mean, Republicans have always been more anti-immigration, but my understanding is that Republicans a few years ago were not anti-high-skilled immigration. High-skilled immigration was something that we could actually agree on because high-skilled immigration is just like an obvious thing.
debates
like,
we've been having
obvious
since
good
the election,
thing.
actually, is it's quite hard to pigeonhole people now into the traditional right and left. And I find that the most interesting thing about American politics right now. A lot of crossover going on. And I think that's a good thing. I really do. I think
Because you invite dipshit anti-establishment people on your show, Piers.
the less
You figured it
tribal,
out.
historically tribal people are, the better. So thank you for that. Great to have you on Uncensored. I think it was your debut. Please come back soon. I want to ask...
They're not any less, I don't care about the New Year's resolutions. They're not any less tribal. They're just arguably, I mean, it's almost more tribal because everyone you've divided into two more tribes. You have like the anti-establishment left, and you have the pro-establishment left, and you have the anti-establishment right. You have the more pro-establishment right. Like, if you want to chat with me live, sub here or go to Nonfon420 on Twitch or Kick via the links below. Once again, please like and sub to help with the algorithm, and consider sending a donation through YouTube Super Thanks to directly support me, and I'll make sure to reply to any question you ask. See you guys next time.